You're busy, you've got a decent practice, but nobody wants to be decent. You want to be great, and you want to have a great practice. So how did the most productive, profitable dentist in the nation balance real life, work, and profits, and somehow make it all seem fun? Well, it comes down to simple, everyday practices. So grab a lunch, join us as we chat with top clinicians and influencers to discover their formula for uncommon success. Are you ready? Then it's time to explore everyday practices with Vicki McManus-Peterson and Dr. Chad Johnson.
Welcome back to Everyday Practices, everyone. This is Chad Johnson from Des Moines, Iowa area, and we have today Vicki McManus-Peterson. Vicki, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you, Chad?
Great. Since you know Alaina, I thought I'd let you introduce your special guest to our show.
I love it. And today is really exceptional because we have someone outside dentistry joining our ranks. Mm-hmm. And Alaina Schwartz is one of my, I call her one of my oldest, newest best friends. She and Ann Duffy are kind of in that category with me. And she is a mindset coach. So she does lifestyle coaching for coaches, consultants, and female entrepreneurs, so professionals. It's not limited to women, but that is primarily what she focuses on. So Alaina, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting to be here with you both.
So tell us a little bit about your background. I know a part of it that you started out, you are a recovering attorney.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
So give us the background on where you came from and what you're doing today.
Sure. Would love to. Thanks. So I started out as a lawyer in the music industry. And the truth is, I became a lawyer in the first place because my parents really wanted me to be a lawyer. I wanted to be an academic. And they told me eventually I'd make absolutely no money and fall out of the ivory tower and be done with that. And so they suggested I went to law school, and I did. And I had a lot of musician friends at the time, so my specialty actually was in the music industry. So I became a contract lawyer, transactional attorney in the music industry. And as I became more
exciting. That sounds, I got to tell you, from the outside, the music industry.
Just from the outside.
Doesn't it seem glamorous?
You know, there's a part of it that, like, I did go to a lot of backstages and a lot of shows, and I had a lot of musician clients. It's not really remotely as glamorous as it sounds, though, especially
like dentistry.
Yeah, exactly.
Like right after being a rock star, I think, dentist is, right up there.
Yeah.
In my mind.
And so as I was going through and sort of climbing the ladder, I am an exceptional negotiator and was offered a job as the executive vice president of the largest independent music company in the world at the time, and I was earning mid-six figures. And I'd finally gotten to the place where all my peers were saying, like, I'd arrived. Like, this was the pinnacle of success. And yet I was never more miserable in my life. I hated what I was doing. And I started to ask myself, like, is this it? Is this all there is? Like, I've done it. I've now done it, and this is it. And so I decided I was going in search of my purpose. And I started pursuing all the things I was really passionate about. I mean, I had tons of money, I had a great husband, I had an apartment in New York City. I traveled to exotic locations all the time, and yet inside I felt completely empty and dead.
And so, I'm gonna pause you there because we do meet so many people in dentistry that have that same feeling, right? They work really hard, they've got the $1 million practice.
They're the A-type, they have aptitude.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What does dental success look like, Chad?
Well, I mean, isn't that the $1 million question? What does it mean for anyone? But I suppose, like, can you sleep well at night? Do you feel like you've been successful? Like, are you able to pay your bills? Do you like who you're working with? Do you like what you're doing? Those kinds of things. Are you serving your community to where you feel like you have mutual satisfaction from that? I mean, shoot, the list could go on, but it would be a yes or no for different people, right? Some people would say, do I get to go to this, concerts on the weekend? Other people would say, that sounds horrible. It's not just about the bucks per se.
Right.
But one good way to have a not so good feeling about your choice is if you were a starving artist, like you said, Alaina, if you were an academic that wasn't paying well and you were just stuck doing that, it had better be a really awesome job if you're not getting paid well to do what you do well, like the kind of a martyr syndrome. I suppose that would work out okay for people if they said, no, I don't care, this is my life dream. But that's a rare percentage of people, don't you think?
Well, it is. And the other thing is that having personally, and so many people I was in the music industry with, having personally achieved a level of financial success where that was no longer an issue, but feeling really dissatisfied, feeling really unfulfilled, feeling really like I would never fulfill who I really was. And that's my experience with a lot of my colleagues at the time. That became my number one factor of success. Do I wake up passionate every day about what I do and love what I do and want to give my gifts to the world? And now I do. Like for 18 years as a lawyer, I didn't every single day, but now I do. And my life is radically different and more fulfilling because of it.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it. So tell me what you do. Like I introduced you as a mindset coach. How...
Yeah. So I consider myself a transformational mindset and business coach. Wow. And I'll just go back to my history a little bit because I think it's relevant here, is that what happened is, and when I gave up practicing law and I was discovering what it is that is my purpose in life, I went through a crisis of epic proportion, and all the structures of my life collapsed. My marriage, I went from having almost $500,000 in savings to being $100,000 in debt. Just friends, just my whole life just really fell apart. And in the process of rebuilding that, I discovered a whole bunch of techniques to help me rewire my brain. Ooh. And I started studying neuroscience, and I started studying quantum physics and psychology. I was a psych major actually in college. And in discovering these things, I actually learned how to rewire my brain. I learned how to take myself out from the living hell I was stuck in on a regular basis, thinking there was no way out, to actually living a beautiful life. And in the process, I realized as I discovered my purpose, it was to help other people do the same thing, but using the vehicle of entrepreneurship so that people, for me, are really, because what I discover is you can be a dentist, you can be a doctor. As a matter of fact, I have several doctors who are clients. And you can be living your purpose. That's really it. But most people who are entrepreneurs are the people who are truly living their purpose.
Yeah.
Right? They've discovered, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to be doing. And I'm putting it out there. And so my job is to help them create the business of their dreams. One that they feel great about waking up every day, that they get to create their own reality and decide what their days look like, what their months look like, what their years look like, what their life looks like.
Wow.
Vicky, I'm not saying this to be political. I'm just saying it to be funny, but she is not even running for president, and she is helping make America great again. Look at that.
Yeah, totally.
Alaina,
I'm totally speechless on that.
I know. Well, all three of us are just going to leave that one alone. But here's one thing, Alaina, I wanted to point out.
I think it is I think what's so true about you, Alaina, and what's ringing true here, Chad, is that you're really getting to the heart of the matter. You can have this facade of a great life, and particularly in entrepreneurship, you and I met, and it's part of my spiritual journey, right? And that's how we're connected. And in getting my doctorate in spirituality, it was really about this concept of merchant priesthood and understanding and helping entrepreneurs, because there is so much hidden, the hidden cost of being an entrepreneur, the burnout, the fatigue, the stress, the pressure that you put on yourself, right? And so share with us, what are some of the common things you see, and how do you help people transform their mindset and go from one level of success to an even higher level of success and that fulfillment that you're describing?
Yeah. Excuse me. So what I've noticed is that when you're talking about making your first 6 figures as an entrepreneur, there are definite strategies that are really important to take to build up clients, to have that coming in. When you start going past your first 6 figures, it's mostly mindset, actually, which is incredible. So 80 to 90% of what you do, your success in life, is your psychology, is your mindset. And only 10 to 20% is actually the mechanics, which is crazy. So what most people think is they keep focusing on the mechanics and keep thinking, well, if I just do this strategy, if I just focus on this in my business, if I just put this marketing out, then I'll finally be successful. But they don't realize that they're operating from the same person, they're being, trying the same thing over again. And all that's getting is the same results. Mm-hmm. So what it requires is that you actually be a different person. And how do you be a different person? It requires that you change your beliefs, which create your thoughts, which then create your feelings. And your feelings are what you're focusing and energizing in your work. And so based on your feelings, are you feeling like struggling with money? Are you feeling like you're working all the time? So one of the hidden things I've discovered with entrepreneurs, particularly when they're high achieving, which is the only kind of entrepreneur I love to work with, is that they work all the freaking time. Wow. Right? They keep thinking, if I just work more, I'll finally have the success I want.
Boom.
But it actually doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Right? And it's because of who they're operating as. It's who they're being. And when they change who they're being, then you actually don't have to work that hard. You move in flow. You stop pushing to create the success you want, and you start allowing more. And that's the difference between hustle and flow. And so most entrepreneurs, because they are, you described it, Chad, as more A-type, but I like to think of it as just high achieving, which is that they're in hustle all the time.
Hustle.
Right?
I love that word.
Yeah, they're in hustle all the time. So they keep thinking, if I just hustle, if I just keep doing this, if I just keep doing, moving, but they don't stop to settle in flow. And it's actually the flow. It's that energy that brings, I'm going to say this, the grace of God into us to be able to move us through what we want, to what we want.
Vicki, let me hijack this for a minute.
Oh, well, I was gonna have you hijack.
Good.
I want you to tell our listeners what you've been doing this summer. You haven't even shared that. You are so in flow right now.
Oh yeah. So, well, Alaina, it's almost like I need to write it down to make sure I get back to it. Cause I was going to rabbit trail, and then you're saying rabbit trail, and I'm going, crud, I've got 2 rabbit trails. Which one do I choose? So first thing this summer, what I've been doing is 2 weeks working, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks working, 2 weeks off. Beautiful. And I've done that. Yeah. And we've done that June, and we'll do it all the way through September. And that's been really good. And, Vicki, when I sent you my stats for Q1, Q2, there's no change. Everything is going nice. And to me, that's success. I suppose someone could say, and I tripled my production. It's just like, well, that's not the case. But the deal is
to have your life balance and not decrease your revenue.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. And I don't have to feel bad that it's just like, well, but here's the interesting thing too. When we talk about this in Productive Dentist Academy, is my hourly production did go up.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a good 10, 20%.
I would actually say, Chad, that you doubled your net worth, because most people look at their net worth as only their income, but they don't realize that it's their skill set. It's their ability to be creative. It's their ability to be inspired. It's their ability to create change.
And Benjamin Franklin talks about, one of my favorite quotes of his is that the day is worth more than the dollar. Yes. And at times when it's just like, when you were saying that I've doubled my production or doubled net worth, all that is that I'm doing the same amount of work in a couple weeks, and then I've got a couple weeks off to spend just as much time with the family as I am with work. And it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Second thing that I was going to say was, so I'll just admit I'm a recovering, as you've called it, a recovering attorney, Vicki, but Alaina, I am a recovering OCD. And one of the things that I did, Vicki, you'll believe this, in undergrad is I'd keep an Excel file of how many hours I studied a day.
I was just going to say, did you put up your Excel spreadsheet?
No, but so no lie,
are beautiful.
I'm an Excel nerd, and I really, I would track how many hours, and I'd be like, okay, am I studying enough? Am I working hard enough? So when you were talking about this is what was going on in my mind. In undergrad, this is what I was trying to do. I was really trying to get into dental school, and maybe if I put in more work, because doggone it, I'm not the smartest kid, but I'm the hardest working one. So I'm going to, try my hardest to get in. Yeah. And so out of my effort, I'm going to record and make sure that I'll even get mad at myself if I didn't study as much as last week. And can I top it next week? And all I was doing was putting in the hours. I was making the hustle, but at the same time, I like what happened in dental school was the semester hours doubled. I mean, it's just ridiculously hard. And so I had to flow. Basically, I couldn't, I couldn't be like, well, okay, 40 hours a day. You can't. And so I had to find ways to make it happen where I was doing, the recording. And all of a sudden I was just like, man, if I could go back to undergrad and study the way that I flowed in dental school back in undergrad, I would have done even better on half the hours. I was just working so hard at just clocking in and spinning the wheels when I wasn't flowing. What do you think about that?
I'd love to speak with that, because that's super important. And that's the thing that is kind of the rabbit hole that I think so many entrepreneurs fall into, which is actually, if I work less, I'm going to start sliding backwards. I won't have the level of success. I have to work less. Mm-hmm. But what they don't realize is there's a quality of time. So when you're working less, but you're actually feeding yourself, you're giving yourself joyous experiences, you're actually raising your vibrational frequency. Mm-hmm. And when you raise your vibrational frequency, you move into flow so much easier. And so then when you are working, everything happens easier. You don't have to work so hard. And instead of moving into just action, it becomes inspired action. And that's why you can be like as productive in half the amount of time. And so one of the things I teach entrepreneurs to do is to work 5, 10, or even 20 hours less a week every week. Mm-hmm. And by reclaiming that time and reclaiming their life, they actually find that they're more productive and make more income. Like, for example, I had a client who was working 6.5 days a week. She had a business, and she's a creative, and she was burned. Her marriage was suffering. Her friends, I was one of them actually, and her friends were like leaving her behind because like they couldn't deal with her anymore. She was like hard to be around when she had the little bit of time that she had. And in our work together, what we did is we helped retrain her for the idea that she can train her team to do certain things because they were so dependent on her before, and that she could take inspired action rather than just taking action. And she actually went to Peru in our 5th month of working together. She went to Peru for 6 weeks. And for 6 weeks, nice. For the first 3 weeks, she was absolutely unreachable. She didn't even check in with her team. And for the second 3 weeks, she checked in once a week. And when she returned, she went to working 3 days a week. And the other 2 days a week, she spent purely on creative projects that brought her joy, and her income. Not only did her life, her marriage, everything get better, but her income actually increased 10 to 15% as a result of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can I highlight something? That is such an awesome story. And for me, what you just highlighted is that sometimes it really does take somebody from the outside to kind of put the brakes on. Because
absolutely.
It's not just that you're getting into a routine or a habit. It's that you're getting into a mental routine and mental habits that really does take somebody from the outside to help bring up to consciousness and say there is a better way, because your ego convinces you. Our egos are like dopamine junkies.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Junkies. And once you get on that high, I was such a workaholic. What was my tagline on one of my websites was, I had to come back to
Chris
it.
Moriarty would have had a quick comeback right there.
Yeah, Vicki, I'm going to say, you're talking about being a junkie. So here's the truth. When we look at stress,
it's an addiction.
It is, but also there's a biological reason for it, which is that when you're when it doesn't even have to be high stress, but when you're stressed, you release cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine. Right. And those 3 are actually addictive to the body. Yes. So what happens is you literally develop a habit. And so your body wants you to keep repeating those same stressful experiences so it can keep getting another dose.
Oh,
and so you keep actually going over the same cycle over and over and over again. And then I like to describe the brain as like if you were to look at a field of tall grass, there's one path in the field, and that's the path you're going over day in and day out. You're repeating the same pattern, same cycle, same beliefs, same thoughts over and over and over again. And to actually change the wiring in your brain, you need to forge a new path. But most people don't know how to do that themselves. It's the first place. And the second thing is that as you're going through the path, you can't just go over it once, because what happens? If you go over it once, the grass bounces right back up. Yeah. So you have to go over it repetitively over and over and over again. And my experience is to get real change, to be able to do that it actually does take working with a mentor. That's why I work with mentors all the time, and I'm a mindset coach.
You know, Alaina, I even want to do that with my son, like, because I'm a can-do and a positive kind of guy. And then it's kind of funny because my son is more Eeyore kind of mentality. And it's
I've got
really
one of
tough.
those too.
Yes, it's really tough to have, like, when you're our type, should I, say. And then he just goes, I suppose. And it's just like, Gabe, turn that around, buddy. Because to me, two big words in my life is perspective and perseverance. And, those are the kinds of things that get things done so far as I'm concerned. But, and he has his own, don't get me wrong. I mean, he has his own blessings and his own awesomeness and whatnot. But one thing is he just, I guess then we'll just give up or something. And I'm just, and it's tough because I want to coach him, but he's got to be willing to receive it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
when the student is ready, then the teacher shows up. Do you find that you run across people where you're like, oh, if only you'd want it?
Absolutely. All the time. What I find more than anything is most people think they want a different life, and in some way they do, but they're really not willing to do the work that it takes to have that life.
Yeah.
And the work that I do is incredibly simple, but it's not easy. And it takes commitment. And most people are not willing to give the commitment to change their existing life and lifestyle, because the number one instinct of humans, most people think it's for survival, but it's for familiarity. And it's because familiarity leads to survival. So when we're sticking our head out of a cave, we're doing the same thing over and over again to make sure we're not getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. And so what it's created is that the familiarity that we have, the unknown, which is where everything we want in our lives is in the unknown. It hasn't happened yet, right? It's where everything we're wanting creates fight or flight in the body, because our ego doesn't actually know it yet. And so it'll search the database of all kinds of past experience and go, have I had that experience before? Am I safe doing this? No, I'm not safe doing it. That's not familiar to me. And it will push us away from everything that we're actually wanting, because it's in the unknown. So I find that most people are only willing to stick in their comfort zone. They're not willing to get out of their comfort zone. And it is the hugest impediment to creating the lifestyle you really want.
I can't believe how quick our time is flying here today. Like, I am so absorbed in this. Chad, we need to have her on like once a month. Let's do like mindset with Alaina, just, to pump you and I up, because we slept sometimes.
Is this an intervention for me? Is that what you're trying to set up? No.
I'm glad you caught the hint.
Yeah, right. Alaina, I have a question though. Can you tell us about your group coaching session coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am starting a group coaching program for high achieving, badass female entrepreneurs. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chad. That's not you.
Chad's still going to put on a wig and
identify. Yeah.
So I'm supporting women in a safe container to be women and to be fully who they are, and to also step out of the masculine paradigm into a balanced paradigm, because we've actually learned, all of us, men and women, have learned success through a masculine paradigm, and that's the hustle. Right? And so to get more into flow, it's about adopting more of the feminine as well. So I have a group coaching. It's an 8-week group coaching program coming up for female entrepreneurs who are stuck at an income plateau, are sick and tired of working 24/7, working themselves to the bone and not able to break through the plateau, and don't want to sell their soul doing it. So I help women break through that plateau, as I said, work dramatically less, and have their business be a full extension of who they really are.
So here's a hard question. Well, not for you, but I mean, that people would probably want to know. Is this online? Is this in person? Because those workaholics are, when you're saying take off some time from work so you can learn how to,
Yeah.
Be a trust thing.
Take time off work so you can learn how to take time off from work.
Exactly. And that's actually one of the biggest excuses ever. I don't have time.
Bet it is. I bet it is.
Story. But actually, this is virtual. I work only virtually with people.
Okay.
And so it's part personally with me. So there'll be group modules. So it's in each of the 8 weeks, there'll be a module that people can do at their own pace. And then there'll be 2 group coaching calls with me a week. Okay. And then I help take the skills that they learn from doing the modules and dial it in specifically for their business and for them.
Gotcha.
That sounds amazing. Well, Alaina, it was so great to have you here. I can't wait to see you in Sedona in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. I can't wait to see you too. Yay.
I wasn't invited.
Thank you so much, both of you.
It's a woman's thing. I'm sorry, Chad.
Alaina, nice to have met you. I have one final question though, and it's lighthearted. So you get to choose one or the other, but not both. Ready?
Yes.
Are you?
Yes, I was born ready.
I know. I just kind of wanted to toy with you for a minute. Bacon or eggs?
Oh my God. Has to be eggs. I'm a vegetarian.
We'll shut off the recording and I'll ask you the real answer. No, I'm just kidding. Well, Alaina, again, thanks for joining us. And Vicki, thanks for getting us started.
Thank you so
it was
much
a nice
for
and warm
me.
environment here. Yeah, it was. So everybody, thanks for joining us today for Everyday Practices. We'll see you next week.
Bring your lunch or take us to the gym again next week to improve your everyday practices. Also, subscribe on iTunes, follow us on social media, and sign up for our email list. Now get out there and win with Everyday Practices.